My stepchildren told me they don't follow step-parent rules, so I stopped offering step-parent resources. Their world got small fast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reddit Visuals. I used to believe love and effort automatically earned you a place in someone's family. Turns out some people will live in your house, eat your food, spend your money, and still decide you're just a temporary extra they can mute when you say something they don't like. I'm James, 44, and I've never had biological kids. For a long time, I thought that meant I'd missed my shot at the whole dad thing. I poured myself into work. Instead, I do systems architecture for a logistics company, boring on paper, but it pays well. I kept my life simple. One-bedroom townhouse, old but reliable Toyota, gym after work, video games on weekends. My responsibilities started and ended with uptime and sprint deadlines. Then I met Lauren. She was 38, divorced, with 2 kids, Jake, 15, and Lily, 13. We met at a coworker's game night. She destroyed everyone at Codenames, laughed with her whole face, and somehow made balancing a law office job and single motherhood look effortless. We started talking, then texting, then dating. When I first met Jake and Lily 6 months later, they were polite but guarded. Jake gave me the classic teenage nod that says, "I see you, but I'm not signing anything." Lily hid behind her phone and her hair. We had burgers at a casual place. I asked about school, what they were into. Jake lit up about basketball. Lily lit up about art. I filed that away. Sports, art, don't talk too much about myself. Their biological dad, Dylan, was technically in the picture, every other weekend according to the custody agreement. In reality, it meant he'd show up with new sneakers or makeup, post a selfie, then vanish when anything expensive or logistical came up braces. Lauren. School forms? Lauren. ER visit when Lily sprained her ankle? Lauren with me driving because her car was in the shop. As we got more serious, the kids got used to me being there. Then they got used to me doing things. I fixed the Wi-Fi when it went down. I did late-night supply runs before projects were due. I sat at the kitchen table explaining algebra because Jake's teacher explained it weird. I took Lily to the art store for last-minute canvases I didn't mind. It felt good to be useful, to be needed. 2 years in, Lauren and I got married. Small ceremony, just family. I moved into her place since it was bigger and closer to the kids' school. I sold my townhouse and contributed significantly to household expenses. I took over the mortgage payments, utilities, groceries, and insurance. I kept my name off the deed because Lauren wanted to protect the house for the kids if anything happened to her, which I understood. Looking back, I should have insisted on legal protection for myself, but I was in love and optimistic. I changed my mailing address, set up my home office, and brought over my embarrassingly large coffee mug collection. What didn't change was my label. I wasn't Dad. I was James, which was fine. I didn't expect them to call me Dad. But I did expect basic respect for the fact that I was now their parent figure, not just their mom's husband. For the first couple of years of marriage, things were mostly okay. There were small tensions. At school events, Lily would introduce me as, "This is my mom," and "This is James." Jake would text me, "Hey man, can you send $20 for gas?" Like I was his buddy, not the guy paying his car insurance. I shrugged it off. Teenagers are awkward. They're figuring things out. Then social media got involved. One night, about 4 years into our relationship, I was in the den finishing up some work when I heard them in the kitchen. The walls in that house might as well be paper. Jake said, "Mom's mad at me about the biology grade again." Lily replied, "She only cares because James makes her care." Jake snorted, "James can chill. He's not even our real parent." Then Lily said the line that would stick with me like a splinter. "We literally don't have to follow step-parent rules. TikTok says step-parents should stay in their lane. They're not allowed to discipline us." Jake agreed. "Yeah, exactly. Step-parents can't make rules. That's like a thing now." I sat there, fingers frozen over my keyboard. Step-parent rules? Lauren walked in and asked what they were talking about. Jake said, "Nothing. Just saying, we don't really have to listen when James goes off about curfew. He's not our dad." Lauren sighed and said, "Guys, he cares about you. He's trying." Lily responded, "He's trying too hard. It's weird. He's not Dad. He's your husband." Your husband, not my partner. not someone who'd been paying their bills for 2 years. Your husband. I could have walked in right then and confronted them, but I've learned from working in IT that you don't change anything in a system when you're angry. That's how you crash everything. Instead, I closed my laptop, took a breath, and walked in like I hadn't heard anything. I loaded my plate, asked about school, and pretended not to notice Jake rolling his eyes when I reminded him about midterms. That night, I told Lauren what I'd heard. She winced. They're teenagers. They're parroting stuff they see online. They'll grow out of it. I said, they said there are step-parent rules where I don't get to have an opinion about curfew. Have you been telling them that? She shook her head. No. God, no. I tell them you're basically a parent. I just don't want to push them. They're still adjusting. Adjusting. 4 years in, apparently we were still adjusting. Then came the curfew incident. Jake was 17, had his license, and I'd co-signed on a used Honda for him. I handled the insurance, the maintenance, all of it. One condition was a midnight curfew on weekends. One Saturday, he breezed in at 2:40 a.m. I was up on the couch because I couldn't sleep, knowing the car I was insuring was out who knows where with a kid I was responsible for. I met him in the foyer. You're almost 3 hours late. He shrugged. We lost track of time. I asked if his phone died. He held it up, fully charged. I didn't think it was a big deal. Mom doesn't care. I said, your mom was asleep at midnight. She cares. I care. We have a curfew for a reason. You don't just disappear with a car I'm insuring. He gave me that look only teenagers can master. It's not your car. It's mine. And you can't make rules. You're a step-parent. The word hit like a slap step-parent, like a substitute teacher, like a temp worker. I'm the one paying for the car, I said. I'm the one whose insurance goes up if you wrap it around a pole. You don't have to call me Dad, but you will respect the rules in this house. He scoffed. TikTok literally says step-parents overstep all the time. You're not supposed to punish us. You're supposed to be supportive. The rules come from bio parents. That's how it works. I felt something go very still inside me. And what does your bio dad have to say about your curfew? Jake said, he's chill, he trusts me. I replied, trust is cheap when you have no skin in the game. He rolled his eyes so hard I thought he might see his own brain. This is why step-parents suck. You think buying stuff means you own us. He pushed past me and went upstairs. I stood there staring at the stairs, at the house I was paying for, at the framed photos I'd printed, at the couch I'd chosen because all 4 of us fit on it for movie nights. I realized I'd made a fundamental mistake. I'd taken on all the responsibility of a parent, but none of the authority was acknowledged. I was an unpaid intern running the entire department. The next morning, I made coffee and sat at the dining table with a legal pad. I made a list. On one side, everything I paid for that directly involved the kids. Car, insurance, sports fees, club subscriptions, streaming services, their phones, the upgraded internet plan, groceries, utilities, school trips, art supplies, basketball shoes, Lily's therapy copays, Jake's SAT prep course on the other side, what I got back in terms of authority. You're not our real dad. You can't make rules. Step-parents should stay in their lane. The columns weren't balanced. I sat with that list for about a week. I watched Lauren hesitate every time she tried to enforce something I'd brought up. I listened to the kids talk about me like I was somewhere between an ATM and an annoying hall monitor. Then one afternoon, Jake left his laptop open on the kitchen counter while he went upstairs. His Instagram was already open on screen, and I saw messages in an active group chat. I know I shouldn't have looked, but I did. The conversation was between Jake and 2 friends. One friend said his stepdad wouldn't let him go to a party. Jake replied, could never be me. We told my mom's husband he's not allowed to set rules. Step-parents are just support. The internet says so. He still pays for everything, though, so we just ignore him when he talks. Support role. Ignore him. I closed the laptop before he came back. My hands were shaking, not from anger, but from something colder. Recognition. They weren't confused. They'd made a conscious decision. Take the benefits. Reject the responsibilities. Treat me like a resource, not a person. That night, I asked Lauren to sit with me after the kids went upstairs. I'm done playing invisible dad, I said quietly. I saw Jake's messages. He's bragging to his friends that I pay for everything, and they just ignore me. She closed her eyes. James, I cut her off gently. I need you to hear me. I'm not threatening to leave. I'm saying I've run the numbers, and right now I'm underwriting their lives in exchange for eye rolls and internet doctrine. She shifted, defensive. They're kids. They don't understand what they're saying. I replied, then maybe it's time they learn. Here's what I'm going to do. I will always make sure they're safe. I will never leave them stranded or hungry. But everything beyond basic safety and shelter falls under step-parent resources, and since they've made it clear they don't follow step-parent rules, I'm going to stop offering step-parent resources. She frowned. What does that mean? I said. It means I'll pay my share of household bills. I'll cover the groceries I use. But their car, their activities, their phones, their subscriptions, their trips, their fun money, that's between you, them, and Dylan. I'm stepping back to exactly the role they say I'm allowed to have. She started to protest. You can't just, I said gently. I can. I've been acting like a parent. They want me to act like a roommate who contributes. Fine. But then they can't ask their non-parent to behave like a parent when it's convenient. She stared at me. This is going to blow up. I nodded. I know. But right now, I'm the only one bleeding. The next day, the experiment began. I called the insurance company and gave a 30-day notice that I'd be canceling coverage on Jake's car. I told Lauren she'd need to arrange new insurance if she wanted him to keep driving. I downgraded our internet plan to basic and set up a separate network for my work that the kids couldn't access. Their devices got a slow connection. I canceled the family Spotify and Netflix accounts I'd been paying for and created individual accounts in my name. Only, I sat down with Jake and Lily at the kitchen table. No drama, no raised voice. You two have made it clear you don't recognize my authority as a parent in this house, I said. You have that right. Nobody can force you to see me any way you don't want to, but I also have a right to decide what level of support I offer. In practical terms, it means this. I will always help if you're in danger. If your car breaks down at 2 a.m., you call me, and I'm coming. If you're hungry, there will be food. If you're sick, I'll help. But I will no longer be paying for extras, your car costs, your activities, your subscriptions, your new clothes. That's for your mom and dad to figure out. I also won't be reminding you of homework, curfews, or chores, because those are parental responsibilities, and you've made it clear I'm not your parent. Jake scoffed. You're being petty. I said, maybe, but I'm also being accurate. You wanted step-parent rules. This is what they look like when I follow them, too. Lily's eyes flicked up. So you don't care about us anymore? That one hurt. Caring about you is why this hurts, I said quietly. But right now, caring just means I get used. So, until you can decide whether you want me in your life as an actual adult with a say, I'm stepping back. I got up, put my mug in the sink, and went to my office. The first week, nothing really changed. Jake kept assuming gas money would appear. Lily kept leaving art supply lists on the counter. I didn't bite. By week 2, the ripples hit. Jake came home fuming. Why didn't you pay the sports fee? I was working on my laptop. I looked up calmly. Because I'm not handling your activities anymore. Did you talk to your mom? He snapped. She said she can't cover it this month. Dad says he's broke. The deadline was today. Now I can't play. I said, I'm sorry that sucks. He glared. You could fix it right now. I nodded. I could. But you told me I'm not allowed to act like a parent. A parent would pay and then expect commitment, good grades, and respect. A guy your mom married doesn't really have a say, so I'm staying in my lane. He stared at me like I'd spoken another language. You're ruining my life, I said softly. No. Your definition of my role just got real. Lily's crisis came next. She had a big art field trip to a museum 2 hours away. The school had sent out a call for parent chaperones weeks earlier, and normally I would have volunteered immediately. This time, I forwarded the email to Lauren without responding. A week later, Lily came home unusually quiet. How was the trip? I asked. She dropped her bag. Didn't go. I asked what happened. Mom couldn't get off work. They didn't have enough chaperones. They canceled it for our class. Only the other class went. I felt that familiar tug, The instinct to fix it, to call the school, to drive my own car, anything. I bit my tongue. I'm sorry, I know you were looking forward to that. She looked up, eyes red. You could have volunteered. I said, I could have, but chaperoning field trips is something parents do, and you've been very clear that I'm not your parent. I didn't want to overstep. Her face crumpled. She grabbed a snack and went upstairs without another word. The house started to feel smaller. Their unlimited data plans I'd been paying for switched to basic. Suddenly they were running out halfway through the month. The "can we get delivery" requests got forwarded to Lauren. The streaming accounts logged them out. I expected rage. Instead, I got awkward silence, like we were roommates who'd had an argument about utilities and were pretending everything was fine. Lauren and I fought. You're punishing them, she said one night. They're kids. Their brains aren't fully developed. I agreed. They are kids, which is why it's your and Dylan's job to parent them. I tried. I got shut down. I'm not going to keep pouring money and emotional labor into a system where any boundary I set is overstepping, but any resource I provide is just expected. She sat down hard. I feel like I'm being pulled in half. I said, let me put it this way. If I left tomorrow, what would you suddenly have to pay for? She started to answer, stopped, then really looked at me. I don't want you to leave, she whispered. I said, I don't want to leave. I just don't want to be treated like a background service that only gets noticed when it crashes. The breaking point came about a month later. It was 1 a.m. and I was half asleep when my phone rang, Lily's name on the screen. My heart jumped. Lily? What's wrong? Music blared in the background. Her voice was thin with panic. James? I'm at a party. Jake left with his friends. There are people drinking, and this older guy keeps trying to get me to go upstairs, and I don't. I called Mom, but she's not answering, and Dad won't pick up, and I didn't know who else. I was already grabbing my keys. I'm on my way. Stay somewhere with other girls. Bathroom, kitchen, or anywhere public place. Do not go upstairs with anyone. Share your location with me right now. She whispered. Yes. I'm sorry. I know you said. I cut her off. We'll talk later. Right now, I just need you safe. I don't remember the drive, just adrenaline and white lines. I pulled up to a house bursting with bass, parked crooked, and went in. I'm not a big guy, but I had that energy only a panicked parent can have. I found her in the kitchen, arms wrapped around herself, eyes huge. Some guy who looked too old to be at a high school party was leaning too close. Lily, I said loud enough that half the room turned. We're leaving. She bolted to my side. The guy started to say something. I gave him a look that made him back off. In the car, she was quiet for the first few minutes. Then she started crying. Those ugly sobs that take you back to being 5 years old. I know you said you're not our parent, she gasped, but you were the only one I trusted would actually come. I gripped the steering wheel. Lily, I never said I wouldn't show up if you needed me. I said I wasn't going to keep funding a lifestyle where I have zero say. There's a difference. She wiped her eyes. We were so stupid. We watched all these videos about setting boundaries with step-parents. They made it sound empowering, like we could just tell you what you weren't allowed to do. We didn't think about what would happen if you stopped. We pulled into the driveway. I put the car in park. Do you understand now why it hurt so much? She nodded. I do. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix it, but I am. I said, I believe you. And for what it's worth, tonight you called me. Not Dylan, not some algorithm, me. That matters. Things shifted after that night. For Lily, anyway. She started knocking on my office door to ask about her art projects again. She'd linger at the table when I made coffee. She didn't call me Dad, but she did say to a teacher one day, This is my stepdad, James. He helped me with this. That mattered. Jake dug his heels in. Every consequence that hit. A dropped elective because the fee wasn't paid, losing car access when insurance wasn't renewed, data throttling mid-game, he saw as my personal attack. One afternoon, he barged into my office. I just got a message from Coach. I'm off the roster because the registration fee bounced. Did you not pay it? I said, I haven't paid for your sports in over a month. He stared. You did this on purpose. I finally looked up. I did this when I saw you bragging about using me. Actions, meet consequences. He slammed his fist on the desk. You're the adult. You're supposed to be better than this. I said, I am being an adult. Adults honor boundaries. You set some, remember? A few days later, Lauren came home with red eyes. I talked to Dylan. He says he can't take on any more financial responsibility until he gets back on his feet. I asked, has he been off his feet for 15 years now? She gave me a tired look. I know you're hurt, but I'm stuck. I pulled out my legal pad, now covered in updated numbers. Show them this. Show them what disappears if I act exactly like the non-parent they want me to be. Then decide if you want a partner or a roommate. The family meeting happened that Sunday. Lauren called it. Jake and Lily sat across from us, stiff. Lauren took a breath. We need to talk about how we treat James and about money. Jake groaned. Here we go. She snapped. Jake, enough. I've let this go on too long. That's on me. But it stops today. She spread out the paper showing 3 years of expenses. This is everything James has paid for. This is what your father has contributed. This is what I pay. I need you to understand who is keeping this house standing. Their eyes scanned the page. Surprise shifted to discomfort. You spent that much on my car? Jake blurted. I said, yes, because I wanted you to have independence and because I thought we were family. Lily looked down. I didn't realize, Lauren continued. James heard you talking about him like he's just some guy who lives here and pays bills, like he has no say. That's cruel. So here's what's going to happen. You have 2 options. 1, James continues to step back. You and I shoulder what we can, and you get used to less. Maybe Dylan steps up, but I wouldn't count on it. 2, you treat James like an actual parent in this house. That doesn't mean calling him dad, it means acknowledging he has authority and responsibility. No more step-parent rules that cut him out when it's about discipline and drag him in when it's about money. Jake bristled. You're making us choose between Dad and James. I said quietly, no, you've been doing that. I've never asked you to pick, but you've been acting like respecting me betrays him. It doesn't. Lily spoke first. I want option 2. Jake shot her a look. Seriously? She swallowed. Yeah, because when I needed help, Dad didn't answer. James did. That hung in the air. Jake looked at me. Really looked. Are you done with us? I said honestly. I'm tired of feeling like a second-class citizen in my own home. But no, I'm not done. If I were done, I'd have left. I'm still here. That means something. He stared at the table. I don't like people telling me what to do. I said, join the club. But adults don't get to opt out of rules because they don't like them. You want the car, the phone, and the help with college apps? Those are privileges. Privileges come with expectations. The meeting didn't end in a group hug. Jake stomped off. Lily cried. Lauren and I sat in the wreckage, wondering if we'd made it worse. But things shifted again. Jake started small. He texted if he'd be late. He cleaned his car without being asked. The first time he knocked instead of barging into my office, I almost fell out of my chair. Hey, he said awkwardly. You still know about resumes? I said, I do. Come in. We worked on it together for his first job. A week later, when he got hired, he stuck his head in and muttered, couldn't have done it without you. Then disappeared before I could react. Lily started leaving her sketchbook on the coffee table. You can look if you want, she said. Just don't judge me too hard. I flipped through pages of charcoal and watercolor she'd drawn the house, us, me at the dining table with my laptop and coffee. It wasn't flattering. It was honest. Your style is really unique, I said, in a good way. She half smiled. It's easier to draw people than talk to them. If you're waiting for Jake to give a tearful graduation speech about how I'm the only father he's ever known, this isn't that story. He still calls me James. He still rolls his eyes sometimes. I still have days when I wonder if selling my townhouse was worth it. There are still family members who think I was cruel for withdrawing support. There are still nights I lie awake wondering if there was a gentler way. But the world isn't as small anymore. Jake knows what his car insurance costs now. He picked up extra shifts when his dad forgot to pay. Lily doesn't watch those step-parent rule videos anymore. She sends me art memes instead, Lauren backs me up in front of them now instead of smoothing things over privately. And me? I finally understand something I should have known from the start. Being a step-parent without clear boundaries is like being tech support for a system where you never get admin rights. I didn't blow up their lives. I just stopped subsidizing their idea that I was optional. So, Reddit, was I wrong for taking their step-parent rules literally and stopping the extra support until they treated me like an actual parent? Was this fair boundary setting, or did I punish kids who were just parroting the internet? What would you have done? Let me know in the comments. And if this story made you think about family and boundaries differently, please hit like and subscribe. It really helps Reddit visuals grow. Thanks for watching.